Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to all my YouTube buddies. You know what occurred to me when I do the show? I don't introduce what the heck we're doing with the show. We're learning about indoor gardening from experts in the field, preeminent experts, the brightest minds in the field. Should I say that at the start of the video so people know what the heck's going on? Let me know about that. Also, every time on the show, I mention that if you go to OCGFAM.com, you get a 20% discount on all this stuff if you use the code OCGFAM2018. But it occurred to me, maybe y'all are not waiting until the end of the video. Maybe you never even see that and you don't know about the discount. So we need to figure out how the heck we're going to handle that. If we need to say what's going on at the start of the show, and if I need to do the discount at the start of the show. I don't want to seem salesy, but I also don't want to, leave you hanging as far as getting a discount. So tell me what you think about that. Let's just get on with the show. We got a good one today. Tim McCormick from Cultured Biologix. These guys was here, it was about a week ago? And he did a whole bunch of videos about all kinds of stuff. We've done one so far about foliar feeding, and then one about using wetting agents with foliar feeding. Today, I'm going to grab a bag of soil. Recycling soil. You get this bag of soil, it's good stuff. You use it to grow. What do? You throw it away? No, there's still good stuff in there, but you gotta go through a process to get it back ready to go for your next run. So this is a long video. We talk about, he's actually gonna do a hands-on thing where he shows you how to do it, and then we're gonna talk about doing it, and then we wander off talking about some other topics and stuff. But it's a good show. I think you're gonna like it. So watch this video, and then I'll talk to you after.
Hey guys, Tim McCormick, Cultured Biologix. I'm here to teach you guys how to recycle soil. We get this question a lot. I field this question a lot. The group fields this question a lot. How do we recycle soil? This wonderful number 4 soil is loaded with bone meal. Bone meal is not really available right when you put it in the soil. So it takes time for it to be released. So what we're going to do is show how we, get done with our run, we shuck the root ball, we have our leftover soil, and now we're going to try to remediate and recycle it for the next run. And the idea is that we want to break down the roots, we want to start releasing all the other bound up amendments so it can be available for when you plant next. And the other thing we want to do is make sure that we put microbes in here, make sure we recharge it with some one-shot to give some food so you're not putting your plant into a blank medium. So what we're going to do is start applying some products. Each one has different intervals, so I'll show you how we at NectarFam, with the products we have to recycle, what products we use. So first, I like to use grain-fed worm castings. I always like to put new worm castings in my soil. I feel like it adds good microbial life. I personally like grain-fed. You can use any worm castings really. I prefer grain-fed. One, I have access to it, and so does OCG. Here in Springfield, Eugene, so you can come in and get some grain-fed worm castings. They're my preferred favorite worm castings, but again, you can use any worm castings. So I like to put about 4 or 5 cups of worm castings and 5 gallons of soil, and then amend it, mix it up. Then I add the microbes and I add the one-shot. So about worm castings, this is 2 cups, so we're going to put 4 cups of worm castings and 5 gallons of soil. 2, 4. Obviously, you're not going to be just pulling down 5 gallons of soil out of your harvest after harvest, unless you have like one 5-gallon plant. So this is just per 5 gallons. So you can usually take this and just scale it and multiply it for however many gallons or however many cubic feet of soil you have. So just get your hands in there. Don't be afraid to get dirty. Microbial activity is the most important thing as we recycle soil. The microbes help break everything down, including all the extra roots. So what you want to do is make sure that when you have your root ball, you take it out of your pot, you want to take the main stalk and the main hard, strong roots you want to rip out. And you just want to kind of shake your plant, jumble it, toss it to the side, just get all of the soil out of the root system, and then throw the main root system away. You're gonna have leftover roots, you're gonna have some more dead plant matter in here. The microbes love that as a microbial food, but we don't want that into our next pot. What we want to do is make sure the microbes break all the dead roots down before we actually start putting a new plant inside of there. So that's half a reason why we're adding worm castings and adding bokashi. We here at OCG have the Golden Roots bokashi. Again, you can use any bokashi you want. Just make sure that it is a good kashi product and it's living. It has microbes inside of it, the microbes aren't dead. So as long as you have a good bokashi product, it's going to give you all the microbes that are then going to create that fungi, that bacterial growth inside your soil that's going to be consuming the roots themselves. So that's what we're using to break down the root matter. You can put soil, you can have soil just sit inside of a bin for 2 months and the roots won't ever do anything if there's not strong enough microbial activity in there. So we can guarantee that we have enough microbes in our soil to recycle and to break down the roots by using a bokashi product. This one is about ½ cup per 5 gallons of soil. So it means 2½ cups total. So this is 2, we're going to use 2½. 2½ cup. Mix it in. Alright, that's our microbials. So what we're going to try to do now isn't common. You can do it. I found this trick out when I was talking to Mark from Green Grow. Earthshine, the Green Grow product. It's an activator. It's a microbial activator. It's a catalyst. This is what the microbes are going to use to jumpstart, to really have their colony boom, so you can get the decomposition rates you need in time for your next harvest to be able to recycle your soil into your next run. I personally really like Earthshine just because it's a very good catalyst. The microbes just seem to pop right after you put it in there. So I've been actually amending it to start my soils, and I've also been using it to amend recycle soils just to make sure that like the activity is there and to make sure I get the carbon. It's mainly activated biochar, so we want to put the carbon and put the microbes back into the soil. It's about 4 ounces per cubic foot. So what I usually do is we have 5 gallons of soil, so it's about ½ a cubic foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to put about 2 ounces of the biochar, about the Earthshine, into the recycled soil. You can tell it's pure carbon, essentially, that's just activated with microbes. About ½ a cup. Sprinkle it in. Worm castings are full of good microbes. Bokashi's full of good microbes. And the way this Earthshine works, it's just going to help stimulate both of those to be the strongest microbial colony possible to make sure everything inside the soil gets broken down, ready for next run. You don't have to be too exact. It's not an exact science. You have to use 2 ounces per half a cubic foot. You know, just be general with it. Don't overdo it. You're going to be wasting your money. It's not really going to hurt anything, but make sure you get it nice and mixed and make sure that you use roughly the right amount. And the last thing I like to add is the one shot. I like one shot because it recharges my soil. After everything is all said and done, after your run, the plant has taken up everything. We don't flush, just rinse everything out with gallons of water. We do the Herculean harvest ripen. And so at the end of it, the bone meal is kind of just allowing everything to kind of just get taken up into the plant. Just allows everything inside the soil to be depleted, to be utilized, and that's why we get the really nice fade and the really nice taste in our finished product. So afterwards, after you shuck the root ball and everything, the soil doesn't have much of a charge. So we want to recharge it and put a good foundation, a good baseline for food for the plant. You can use this as your main food source, but what we found a lot of people are doing is they're adding the one shot to be a foundation of food, so when they're using the liquids, it's all the goodies and more on top of the foundational food. But we like to give a foundation of food with the one shot because it's like a general slow release for 2 or 3 months that are really going to allow the plant to have access to food even when you don't have a feed, or even when you put a tea in there, it's going to be breaking it down and giving it a foundational food source, is what I call it. So I do 1 cup for 5 gallons of soil. That's average. You can top dress with 1/2 cup. You can also use up to 2 or 3 cups, 4 cups for 5 gallons of soil to amend your soil if you want a real true like super soil. We have 5 gallons of soil here, so we're going to use 1 cup just to kind of re-amend the soil, just kind of recharge it, give a nice gentle nutrition so we have some baseline when we're using our liquid nectar. Just get it all mixed in. Bam. Recycled. So now all you have to do is cap it, put a lid on it, let it sit for 30 to 60 days. You'll start to see white fuzz on top. You'll start to see the soil become alive. That's okay. It is not mold. This is good fungi, good bacteria that are preventing any bad bacteria and any bad pathogens from existing inside your soil. If you see white fuzz, that's good. Do not freak out. It is a very good thing. So you just let it sit for 30 to 60 days. You might want to toss it every 2 weeks. Just come in. Should be all, I like to keep mine leveled out as it sits. Come back through about every 2 weeks and just kind of fluff it. Just kind of toss it. Just to get everything mobile, everything that's going to be, maximum surface area is the best way to allow microbes to break everything down. So the best way we can do is just kind of fluff it up every 2 weeks, and just when you stop seeing dead roots, when you stop seeing the strands of root fiber, that's when it's ready. It can take anywhere from 2 weeks, it can take anywhere from 60 days depending on the activity of the microbe. So just check it every 2 weeks, fluff it, see what's inside of it, and as soon as you start to see the roots starting to break down, they'll turn like a brown color, almost like a soil color. As soon as you see that, that's when you're pretty much good to then put it into your pot and start the next cycle of it. This is how we recycle soil as the Nectar Fam with the products we have. Let's go into how and why we even do this.
All right, that was pretty smooth. We got soil. So
Yep.
we've been talking about wanting to do a soil video about the recycling of the soil. I wanted to ask you, why would you recycle the soil? And why wouldn't you recycle the soil?
Sure.
So let's just start with why you would recycle your soil. I mean, obviously there's the money-saving thing, but is there beyond the money-saving issue of it? So this ready to go?
Yep, it's ready to go.
How long do you put it? Let's just start with that. How long do you put it in here? I think you already said, right? But it's
Yeah.
like 6 months,
About
3 months, 2 months,
about
1 month, 4 months,
30 to 60 days.
Okay.
That's what I like to set. It could be faster, it could be 2 weeks, depending on how active the microbes are. Could be 60 days if you don't have a very active microbe.
I guess that was what I was getting at, is that it's you don't know exactly. It does require some watching it, just like your plant does. And that's the thing that you get to, like, from experience. So I think there's a lot of people, with me personally, it's like it's overwhelming. People are like, well, you'll just know when the plant looks happy. I don't know when the plant looks happy, but as I've done it, I found that you do know when the plant looks happy. So if you don't know the first time around, ask your buddies, look it online, send a picture to someone, do that kind of thing. But don't get freaked out, because you're going to get it. It's going to become part of you.
It's a language. We don't know every language right now, but it takes time for us to learn language. And plants have a language if you just listen.
Yes.
So it takes time. It takes cycle after cycle after cycle. You may not understand plants for 4 or 5 cycles, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's all a learning process. Use the Nectar Fam, though. We're all family. We're all here to help each other.
Asking people and having a thoughtful looking at it.
That's the most important part. Is finding your growing buddies, finding your friends, finding the people who are doing the same thing we are doing, and asking and growing and learning from them.
Yeah, people that have a good energy about it, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when it comes to specifically recycling soil, well, how do I know when it's done? I first and foremost put the date on top of it. That allows me to know when I put it in there, and then from there I can get lost in my weekly schedule and then come back 2 weeks later and be, oh yeah, I put it there, I should probably check it and flip it and see what's going on.
So if I do keep flipping it, and I'm not sure Am I gonna go too long, I guess is what I'm saying.
Never.
You're never gonna go too long.
Is the earth ever going too long?
No.
Right.
This is like the making the eggs thing.
Yep.
When you're making the over easy eggs, you probably don't like over easy eggs because you're just a kid. But when you know when they're done, in my mind, is when I stop worrying that they're underdone and I start worrying that they're overdone. And it's something like in the back of my head that starts feeling like, oh boy, you've overdone it.
It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling, right?
Kinda, like I said, it's about understanding and knowing. So it takes a couple cycles, it takes a couple times doing it, but after you do it, you'll just know, like, oh, that's probably done. Check it and be like, it's ready.
Err on the side of long, not short.
Right.
Okay.
And you can generally tell, the main thing is we're decomposing dead root matter. Wow. So as soon as you start to see the roots go from like white to like a brown to like a black,
okay,
that's when you know you're almost
so
done.
you're digging through it, you're seeing the strands of roots and stuff, and you're like, okay, okay.
And so the other thing is, another reason why we do it isn't, again, to save money. It does help us save money, but things release over time in here for the next time, right?
Okay.
So we want to help release the things that weren't released in the first cycle in the second cycle.
So that's getting back to the question of why we would do it.
Right.
Not just for saving money, not just for saving the soil, but that there's stuff in here. What kind of stuff is in there that takes longer to get ready for me?
The bone meal, the rock dusts, the other type of really insoluble like amendments that just take a while to break down, like feather meal, things like that. It takes time to break that stuff down. So the main point is to make sure that you give it enough time to release it again, because like bone meal is only released the second round. It's not actually released the first round. Hercus, because it's got digest the Hercus.
Sure, okay. But the bone meal that's in here is bone meal.
It's powdered bone meal. So like, that just takes time to release. Like usually 8 to 12 weeks. So like you can start to get it at the end of your run essentially, but it's not going to be very much. The second run though, that's where it happens. That's where the magic happens.
Okay.
And so every time you recycle, you're making soil better. Don't think you're depleting soil or you're impeding the process of soil. You're making the soil better over time.
Okay, now let me ask you this though. So there's obviously a lot of minerals, the rocks, those kinds of things in there that are very slow to break down.
Sure.
But when I've recycled this soil 11 times, am I going to start to where I have to start putting some of that stuff back into it? Is there a limit to how many times I can recycle this?
There's not, as long as you keep recharging it. And we use, again, the one shot to recharge it. So as long as you're adding materials to recharge your soil, kind of give it some more nutrition, and as long as you're putting microbes in it to outcompete any of the bad, then you're not going to have a problem. However, times you don't want to recycle soil.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because I've had people say to me like, oh my goodness, what are you thinking? Just get new soil, it's safer. And why wouldn't you want to recycle the soil?
If you, and the safer approach, if you're out digging up soil from your backyard,
that's not soil like this is soil.
No, it's not. But if you put that in a tote and you kind of recycle and you try to reuse that, you can actually dig up bad fungi, and you can dig up bad diseases like Fusarium, Rhizoctonium, which are very, very bad fungal diseases. Okay,
which are innocuous in the large environment of the world.
In the world.
But deadly to your plants in a bucket.
Right. And it's still deadly to your plants in the world. Fusarium on strawberries, Fusarium on tomatoes will decimate them. You'll just see the plant collapse.
Just gone.
So I'd never recommend taking outside soil and bringing it in first off.
Yeah.
Blight spores are all around us. Fungal spores are all around us. Never take outdoor soil and bring it in. Rule number 1.
No outdoor soil.
Rule number 2.
Before we get rule 101. So if I use my bag of number 4 or my happy snappy soil or whatever outside, it is now outside soil. It is not inside soil ever again. Let alone just digging in the dirt that was naturally in my yard.
And the reason why it's okay to reuse our soil from a bag, right? Yeah. Is because there's no pathogens in it. There's no diseases. So we don't have to worry about Fusarium. We don't have to worry about Rhizoctonia. It started off, cocoa is sterile. Cocoa is sanitized. Things don't live in just cocoa. Things don't live in just peat moss. You know, out in the wilderness, you're going to find some diseases around you, but first and foremost, our soils do not have any contaminants in them. Usually, a good soil does not.
Yeah, sure.
Especially one used for container planting. So you don't have to worry about all the diseases out in the earth that you do indoors with our bagged soil.
Okay.
Right?
I took you off track with number 2.
Nope, you're good. Number 2 is that if you get root aphids, you get root rot, you get some type of blight, some type of disease in your soil from taking it outside, bringing it in, or you having a clone that you brought from the dispensary or a cutting you got from a buddy, and you put it in your soil and you're, oh crap, I have root aphids.
Okay, so
You don't want to recycle soil at that point.
That
You want
soil's
to get rid of
done.
it as fast as you want to ship it to another state. Go to the ocean. Do whatever you have to do. Do not reuse your soil if you have it.
Okay.
Certain insects like mites aren't prone to live, like foliage mites, like spider mites, rust mites, russet mites, cyclamens, broad mites. They don't live in the soil where there's no plant material to eat. They eat the foliage. They eat that. So if you do have a pest outbreak, it doesn't mean your soil is just tanked.
Okay.
They can't live without their food source.
But if I would get root aphids or some soil-based pathogen, that is... And how would I... So, like, if I got some stuff, because you kind of get some stuff every time you get something. There's something going on. You're not... Are you talking about when my crop failed and I had to trash the whole thing? Or just when I had some sort of bug issues?
It can be either or. Bug issues are the number one indicator that something's going wrong. Like you can see the aphids crawl around your soil.
Sure.
You know, the main point is to make sure that you don't have a damaged crop when you're recycling. You can tell if it's a nutritional damage or when it's a fungal damage. Right? Blight makes these little halo rings, fungal rings, and it can exist in your soil and travel into the foliage of the plant. You know, at that point, you want to get rid of all the soil. Okay. And usually that only happens if you bring outdoor soil in.
Okay, so that's when for the most part, I'm going to be okay. I get a bag of soil from the OCG or from my local garden store. I bring that in there. I'm cool in the game.
Right.
But, holy moly, I got some root aphids or some sort of soil-based pathogen type thing. It's got to go. But otherwise... it's all good.
Right.
This is the thing that you're going to want to do is recycle the soil. And probably actually maybe safer because you're in your enclosed environment with your closed soil.
With the clean soil.
Exactly.
And no, soils can't give you russet mites. No, soil can't give you any of these cyclamens or any of these micromites. So that is something that comes up as a question all the time. So you understand, they're not going to be living in your clean soil. You're not going to get that from the number 4 soil. It's clean. If you took soil from outside, sure, that could be a possibility, but we have clean soils.
Right.
And so at that point, it's just about us taking care of them.
Okay.
Us being the watchers over the soil, making sure there's nothing crazy going on it, like root aphids. And then, once we have good runs, or if we have an iffy run, we know that, like, oh, that iffy run is because I got lockout. So, like, if you get lockout, that doesn't mean throw your soil away.
I gotcha.
You know? So, it's just about, again, listening to the plant, reading it, and understanding what we're working with. It takes a couple cycles, but if you ever doubt your soil, 1, ask an expert. 2, err on the side of caution. If you did get a bug and you're not too sure if it's in your soil or not, like you got some type of disease or something just happened, your plant's just crashed, you probably want to not use that soil again.
Okay, so that you got some problems. Err on the side of caution, not for freshmen when doing that game. Right. You just would be like better safe than sorry. You get more into your gardening career. You're 5-6 years down the road. You kind of know what's going on. That's when you're live, man. You can say, okay, I'm going to be okay with this, or I'm going to try this. That's the other thing I want to ask you with the industry we're working with, our crop. We rely a lot on clones over seeds because a lot of us pop seeds, but we want to know what we got because of the vast variety of stuff you can get. So if we know that we're dealing with clones and we know that is the main issue that's bringing in that's spreading cooties.
Oh yeah.
How do we deal with that so that we can bring those clones in without destroying our crop in a repeatable, scientific manner?
Quarantine. Have a little section, not in your garden. Okay. Have a little section away from your garden, in your garage, or in a different place.
Okay.
Have a little quarantine area. Then what you need to do is implement your IPMs. Okay. So what I do is...
What's IPM?
Integrated Pest Management.
Okay.
And it's not just using one thing to control pests. It's called an integrated pest management.
Several aspects of that and a regimen of how you do it.
Right. So one of that is Preventive Sprays. Any clone that I bring in from a friend or from someone else, I have it in a separate little space and I spray it.
Okay.
With either, you can use any oil-based, you can use a myco-insecticide like No Fly, you can use enzymes like Dr. Zymes, like Big Time Exterminator.
And you probably use this with a wetting agent, so that, like IG or something like that, so that you can make sure you get it all over everything. Would you do the soil too?
I would get the tops of the soil, and usually during a plug or during
because they're small things, so you can get.
That's the best time to catch it, because when you put that small plant into a big pot, Now we're asking for room to grow, room to take over,
room
and that's
for all those bugs to get out there and stretch their legs.
They're gonna bring the suitcases. They're gonna bring their moving vans. They're coming in hot.
Okay.
So what we want to do is make sure that one, you quarantine it, and two, you have an integrated pest management protocol that you can implement on this cutting. So if you bring a cutting in, you're like, wait, there's some fat little things rolling on the roots. There's a couple little fat little things rolling on the roots, and you got a rockwool cube, and you look underneath of it, and there's root aphids on it.
Okay.
You should have some type of like a Botaniguard or some type of a dip where you can dip the root ball into something that will kill these root aphids. So it's about having the proper tools, and having the proper practices to quarantine something. To then, once you have it in quarantine for like a week or two. Then you can be like, okay, I know I haven't seen anything. If you did see anything, you killed it. And then you look at it again, like, okay, nothing's living on it. Then after you use that 10 to 14 day period, I then put it into my garden.
Okay, so I'm imagining in my home that I've got a closet or a bedroom that's my grow area. And then out in my garage, I've got a small tent or maybe just a prop tray with a dome over or something like that. And that separate area, that's where I'm doing my stuff with my clones. They come in, they go in there, they get integrated pest management of having the light oil type thing or some kind of pest control on them, because it's almost, we should just assume that they have something.
Just assume.
And then I do that. I go a couple weeks in there. I got my scope. I'm looking them over. I see nothing. They're clean and they're good to go. Still, do I bring them into my room, put them, a separate area for my plants, or what happens at that point? So I guess what I'm saying is that I've kept them out in my garage. They're separate. I've kept them alive. I've sprayed them for pests. I don't see any pests. All right, I got a clone. I feel like this guy's probably okay.
Yep.
What's next?
I then take it, I introduce it to my room, my veg room, right? Or my veg area.
Okay.
But I don't put it up against the plant. I don't have it touch each other.
Right.
So if I did miss anything, it can just jump on over.
Sure.
I put it in there, and it's still part of the phase 2 quarantine process. Introduce it to your room, and then keep it kind of away from everything.
Okay.
Monitor it for the next week.
Okay.
Like I said, when you bring in new clones, you should be quarantining for at least 2 weeks and monitoring for the next 7 days after that. So it's a 21-day process to make sure that you don't have bugs, essentially.
Would I be treating my production crop any differently during those 7 days?
I would make sure that you change your clothes after you handle it.
Okay.
I would make sure that you don't introduce any type of contaminations into your production room.
Okay, so you probably go in your production room and do all your business there before you even go see Mr. Clone.
Yep. And I do production room first, then I do my veg second, and then I go see Mr. Clone.
Okay.
And then I still will make sure that I don't try to cross-contaminate that clone or anything that could be on it with myself, because they're persistent. The deal is with the pest, you have to be more persistent than the pest itself. And this pest's livelihood is dependent on eating this plant.
Okay, so you're every day of the year you're careful in your grow room, but you might be bagging yourself up in whatever you're doing when you get to the clone. This is a heightened circumstance.
Yeah, I mean you can take one clone and have it contaminate all 6 plants, all 4 plants, or how many plants your whole medical garden. It can contaminate it. And then your patients don't get the medicine, you don't get your product consumed. It turns out to be a really big nightmare, because now every other round of production has a chance to be contaminated for the last run.
Sure.
So quarantining and integrated pest management is so important. That's why I recommend rotating with oils, rotating with enzymes, and then using some type of myco-insecticide like no-fly or Botaniguard.
Okay, I got a couple more questions. Would I, in my clone area, my quarantine area, would I have sticky traps and stuff like that looking for things?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm looking for stuff there. And the second question, okay, other than sticky traps, is there any other way I'd be inspecting my area there? And I'm just looking at the plant with a scope. I got a sticky trap. Anything else?
Look for damage.
Okay.
Scout. Always do some scouting. If you see a plant start to turn like a light green, or you start to see some yellowing, you start to see something, investigate. Don't just be like, oh, it'll kick out of it.
Okay.
Don't worry. So keep an eye on it. Its observation is the most important tool when it comes to this.
Okay, next question.
Sticky traps help too. So make sure you use sticky traps, the yellow and the blue.
Oh, so that's the other question I have. So a lot of these things, like they're called root aphids. They're in the soil. Do I have like sticky sticks or something, or do I have stuff down a thing, or am I traps up in the canopy for flying type bugs?
So the adults are going to be flying. The adults are going to be trying to transfer themselves.
Okay.
You don't really have things stickies in the soil. I mean, you could put a sticky trap on the soil, kind of spread it out and lay it on top of the soil.
But that's not as important. That I'm going to find what I got going from my sticky traps that are in the thing.
You'll see that every bug kind of has their own food source that they prefer. For example, if you want to see if you have root aphids, take the end of a potato, cut it, and put the potato on top of the soil.
Oh,
You'll see
wow.
them go for the starches in the potato super
Sure.
fast, and that will be an indicating factor if you have root aphids or not.
Okay.
I believe it was Ollie, nectar assassin, part of the nectar fam.
Yeah.
He actually put a cap full of Aphrodites on top of the soil and got it to lure and bait the root aphids.
This is
to
the
see
good
if it
stuff you
was-
get when you actually talk to someone for a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
That's community. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. If you want to see if you have root aphids or not, a really easy way is take Aphrodites and put it in a cap and put that on top of your soil and see if anything is attracted to it.
Okay. Last question, I think.
Sure.
Something else might come up. So I go down and I get this clone. I got that clone in my room there. I'm 3 days in, and my buddy Jimmy says, "Hey, I got this awesome clone for you." I got to put that in a separate place or start over with my 7 days, right?
You want to
Yeah,
if you don't have the room to quarantine, you at least want to start spraying immediately.
Okay. Well, so what I'm saying though is that if I've got a clone that I'm quarantining, and then I take another clone 3 days later and put it into that clone thing, they can intermix whatever they got going. So do I got to wait another 7 days before I can take either one of the? I can take either the clone out of there.
It's a good rule of thumb is to just make sure that you have 7 to 14 days of quarantine.
Yeah.
If you introduce something new, it's probably going to restart that cycle over again because it can. At that point, anything you just done, it's going to hop over and get on it, and so you're at square one again.
So I'm, if I have if I had a couple prop trays there with those two next to each other, that's not quarantine. It's the distance from it that's the quarantine. So having this out in my garage and having that in the house is my quarantine. Having two things like in their own sealed things is not my quarantine. It's the stuff is can get out.
It's the area you put it in. That's your quarantine, not necessarily the bubble itself, but the
area around.
For example, I have a 3x3 tent that I use as my quarantine.
Right. Okay.
Anything that goes in there, it gets sprayed once every other day, once every 3 days. I hammer it for the first week, 2 weeks, and then after I don't see anything, then I put it in. But the most important thing is using your eyes. Observing, knowing. So it's just experience, going through it. Take the time to look at your plants. Take the time to understand some of these bugs and some of these things that they're doing to the plant.
What their life cycle's like, what they do, what they like, what they're it's like you're a detective. You're looking for where they go, what they do, and how they do it to understand how you can defeat those little pernicious.
Exactly. Be Detector Gadget.
Awesome. Let me ask. I had one more question. Sure. Let me think of what it was. Oh yeah. So I got you got your cloner, your 3x3 tent, and you got stuff in there. You pull that all out, and you're back into the production room. What do you do to that tent before you go back to putting another clone in there?
So once I clear it out,
okay.
Bleach is a good source to make sure you can sterilize everything.
Okay.
You can also use natural sterilizing agents. Like there's some natural soaps and some natural cleaners that you can use. Those work too. Just scrub every inch of your tent down. They will find a place to host themselves till they can get the plants to come in and they can feed again. So be thorough with cleaning.
What do you think about the persistent peroxides like Sanidate, Xeritol, that kind of thing?
They're good. They're good. Xeritol is good for mildew spores. It's good for molds. Certain things are good for certain aspects of it. So,
but bleach would be the king of all cleaners as far as this thing?
It kills most things. The problem with bleach, though, and why we kind of like to stay away, but it does work at sanitizing your tent or your room, is because there's some residual left over. So if you do use bleach, make sure you scrub it down with like an enzyme or a natural cleaner afterwards, and just make sure you get it all off of your
That's
walls.
why people like the Sanidate, is because it's persistent over 24 hours, but then
it goes away. So if you do use bleach, just make sure you rinse your tent out, make sure you rinse your room out, make sure you scrub it down again afterwards to make sure you pull all the bleach off.
So you probably have some safety, some mask and some glasses, that kind of thing. Some gloves.
You don't want to get the stuff in your lungs. You don't want to get the stuff in your eyes. You definitely want to use gloves. Some of the stuff, especially Xeritol, is caustic to our hands. It causes peeling and burning and can dry your things
and our eyes,
quick.
Deadly to our eyeyes.
Deadly to our eyes. You'll go blind.
I don't want to go blind.
Nope. We had this in chemistry. We had this poster that my professor always put up on the wall. It said, Carol didn't use goggles during an experiment. Then it shows Carol's with the blind people glasses with her guide stick. And it says, now Carol doesn't need goggles anymore.
Nice.
But it makes a good point. Protect yourself, guys. Because if not, you're not going to need to protect yourself because you're yourself up.
That is what Mr. Blackburn, my wood shop teacher, he got this dowel, and he's like, that's about the width of a thing. And we were over the bandstand, and he goes, ching! And he's like, here's 2 fingers. Ching!
Right?
And I'm like, I remember, that was 6th grade. To this day, I remember.
Branded it in your head.
So
safety first, everybody. Make sure, even though it is good to clean, even though it is, make sure you're sanitized. Just make sure you're safe.
Protect yourself.
Safety first and foremost. Part of integrated pest management protocols is using the proper PPE, personal protective equipment. That means if you're spraying any pesticide, if you're spraying any cleaner, have a face mask, have goggles, have gloves. I prefer wearing long sleeve shirts. I prefer using pants and closed-toed shoes.
Okay.
Like I said, first and foremost is safety. Second is make sure that you don't introduce bugs to your production room.
I like the closed-toed shoes too. The open shoes are real popular out here in Oregon.
I'm
sort of crowd.
I'm sure flip-flops are too.
Well, flip-flops I'm okay with. It's the Birkenstocks that kind of bug me. But I don't want to impugn anyone that's wearing the Birkenstocks. To each his own. That's another topic for another day. I think we've covered a lot of stuff here, and I appreciate you talking about it.
I'm no fashion guru, but I'll tell you how to kill some bugs.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Okay, so that was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. Sure was fun having Tim here. You know, he's going to be back, I think it's March 23rd. Pretty soon he's coming back. We're going to do a Green Room Live thing with him and do a bunch more videos. So if you got any thoughts about what you'd like to see in those videos, because I think what we need to do is Tim, I've got some more videos with him where he's talking about Cultured Biologix, about their teas, about Trigger, about Dr. Root. But Tim has been around a long time growing with nectar, and I think he might actually be a real good source for us some advanced information on growing with nectar. So maybe we'll put something together like that with him. But that's the show for today. Have a good weekend. I love you, and I'll see you on Monday. For more information about anything on today's show, go to our website, OCGFAM.com. And if you buy anything while you're there, use the code OCGFAM2018. You're going to save 20%, and you're going to have a lot of fun. The OCG Fam Show, it's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you on Monday.